Friday free practice is a few hours away, but let's hit you with a quick bit of news before we get into everything that happens on the track this weekend. We're talking about the potential Perez problem for Red Bull. Will Christian Horner provide team orders if Sergio is leading in the Grand Prix? Other drivers have weighed in on the discussion in the last couple of days. And Lewis Hamilton wants to see less X-rated talk over the radios in Formula 1. I'm Ollie Wilson for GPFans. This is the news in F1 leading into what should be a potentially thrilling Mexico Grand Prix this weekend. Now, let's dive into the headlines. Before we do that, just a reminder, hit the subscribe button down below to stay up to date with all that we do here at the channel. Get onto @GPFans Global on Twitter and Instagram as well to stay up to date with all of the news and views from across all of our writers. Now, let's get into the headlines. Let's start first today with a continuation on the hypothetical debate of what would happen if Sergio Perez was leading the Mexico Grand Prix this weekend with Max Verstappen behind him. Would Red Bull team orders come into effect? Well, a few other people around the paddock have weighed in on the discussion, with Sebastian Vettel urging Sergio Perez to stay ahead if he finds himself on the cusp of winning his home Grand Prix in Mexico this weekend, even if Red Bull instructs him to let by teammate Max Verstappen. Perez's recent improvement in form after claiming back-to-back podiums has sparked a big what-if debate up and down the pit lane ahead of Sunday's race at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. There is a possibility Perez could find himself leading the race in the closing stages in front of around about 130,000 fans, clamouring to see a first win from a Mexican driver on home soil. Should Verstappen lie in second, however, would Red Bull impose team orders? And if they do, would Perez obey with such a historic moment in his grasp? With Perez declaring it a great problem for the team earlier in the week, he has received support from four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. When the scenario was put to Vettel, the Aston Martin driver said, "Well, I'm not a fan of team orders. There are two different team orders. There's the order where you give way but you get it back in the same race if you're on different strategies. Then there's the team order where one has to get out of the way so the other can score more points." Now, even if the situation is very easy to explain logically, I still think it's bad and I would be in favour of not having any team orders ever. I think it's just dull. Nobody likes it. Now, if Checo happens to be ahead leading the race, then Checo should stay ahead. And if he's not ahead, then he has to be overtaken by whoever, whether that's Mercedes or a Red Bull. Valtteri Bottas has been in that position with Lewis Hamilton, and it's not nice. Elsewhere, Riccardo has also agreed with Vettel when the question was put to him, with the Aussie being asked if he'd move aside for a teammate if he led in his home Grand Prix in Melbourne. The McLaren driver simply saying he probably wouldn't. It's an interesting debate, and it will be probably giving Christian Horner a few headaches going into Sunday's race, and he'll probably be praying that Max Verstappen can get a lead nice and early and Sergio Perez won't cause any more problems, but it is a nice problem for Red Bull to potentially have. Elsewhere on the paddock, and Lewis Hamilton has explained that F1 drivers must think about the young kids watching the TV broadcasts before bursting into X-rated tirades over the team radio. In recent years, F1 has granted its audience wider access to team communications over the radio during races, particularly with the drivers, the teams, and now most recently with the FIA interactions being broadcast as well. On occasion, it has come at a price, as messages are often selected for broadcast because of the expletives being uttered by a driver in reaction to an on-track incident or a steward's decision. It's kind of what we all want to see, right? In a recent incident during practice for the United States Grand Prix, Max Verstappen was broadcast giving Hamilton the middle finger before labelling the Mercedes driver a stupid idiot. This footage and the transmission went viral immediately across social media. Seven-time F1 champion Hamilton believes drivers should be mindful of their audience before speaking out over team radio. "I've been here for a long time, so it's not my first rodeo, but I think at the core of everything has to be respect," said Hamilton. "When I think about and I hear things that come out of drivers' mouths, I do think about the young kids. There are kids watching us, and they're looking for inspiration and for guidance. There has been a lot of things that have been said which are definitely not good for young kids that are watching. For me, I just try to remain positive, keep calm, and again, just be respectful to the drivers that I am fighting. If I have a name in my head of what I think they are, I don't share that. But it's pretty easy for me. You laugh it off and move forwards. Now, I understand where Lewis Hamilton is coming from on this one. We don't want to have X-rated tirades being broadcast to a young audience. But when you're driving a Formula 1 car around at over 190 miles an hour, there's a fair bit of tension and intensity. And that is one of the wonderful things about sport as well, is that you get the fire and the passion, because these guys do sometimes live and breathe and almost die by the sport that they're involved in. That is at times going to lead to a few expletives. And isn't that what we kind of want? The passion and intensity of sport that gets us motivated and gets us sucked in, particularly to Formula 1. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below about the X-rated radio broadcasts and the potential Perez problem for Red Bull this weekend. And of course, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all that we do here at GPFans.